Well, here we are. PK here, and behind me, I'm here in Eastern Europe, Sofia, Bulgaria, for our Out of the Box right now. Remember, we're living out of the box during the pandemic. My wife and I came here for a 4-week vacation. I used to live here for 12 years, so you don't know who I am. This PK, I'm a 35 years trading in the business, futures trader, professional futures trader since I was 22. I'm 62 right now, an old goat as I joke around. And what we're gonna talk about today is because I was, this whole weekend I thought about it, listened to a lot of things, and I said, the bottom line is, look, I gotta break it to you. There's gonna be no financial meltdown, no crisis. I don't see it happening. I'm going to go inside and tell you why. 1 second. I'll take one of the cigarette. Don't smoke it, guys. It's not good, but look, none of us are perfect. So anyway, we have a couple more weeks here in Bulgaria. As I said, I lived here for 12 years. And let me tell you this. If you're thinking about going to Europe right now, it's today is Sunday in June. I'm sure the date, June 9th or 10th. Don't come to Europe this summer. It's a full disaster here. They're way behind on the vaccinations. Nothing like in America. Okay, take my glasses off. We'll come on inside here. Give me 1 second to put it together for you guys. I'm going to break it down right now. Here, it gets all set up there. Hey, it's not easy to do this live. Don't forget that. Anyway, so I got my notes. Remember, some of you don't know. Excuse my, it's hard for me to talk. I had a brain aneurysm 20 years ago that just blanked my speech up. So bear with me here. I'm doing the best I can. So anyway, the name of the show today for Out of the Box is, look, I hate to break it to you. There's going to be no financial meltdown. And let me tell you what my theories and the arguments are. Number one, let's talk about what everyone's talking about: inflation, hyperinflation. And I hear on so many financial channels, on gold and silver channels, about the stock market crashing, and they talk about the inflation, hyperinflation. They always give the examples of, look what happened. They usually talk three things. What happened in Germany, which is after World War I, how that currency collapsed. They talk about what happened in Zimbabwe, some small country in Africa, that went to zero. And of course, they always say, I think some philosopher, I forgot who it was, it's not at the top of my head, said that all fiat currencies they all go to zero eventually. And I can tell you that, number one, look, if you believe this, look, remember this? Maybe you guys are too young for this. The OJ, if you believe this, it's like saying the glove don't fit, you must have quit. I'm not a believer of this. I think this is all wrong. And, this argument regarding this was in the OJ trial, so let's lose that. That didn't really fly too well. Anyway, so let me tell you is that I don't think I don't see this going to happen. I think these examples are from the past. It was a much different. You can't go back 100 years, and you can't compare America or the U.S. dollar, which is still the world's reserve currency, to Zimbabwe or Germany from close to 100 years ago, from World War I. It's a whole different. Everything changes. Everything evolves in the life. So number two. So let's forget the inflation, hyperinflation. I don't see that happening. Number two is, let's talk about commodities and gold and silver. First of all, we have, we know the copper, the lumber, the soybeans, which make up the commodity, the CRB index was rising up, and everyone's been flipped out about, oh my God, inflation is coming back, and they over and over again in the news, and even the crude oil, as all these things have taken off, And they all say, because of this, it's really over, and this is their strongest argument up until about a month ago, and now all these things have come way off. And I mentioned in my other video, I feel that the high is in. I rarely make a call or prediction of the future. I usually, trade what I see and not what I think. But now I'm trading what I see and I think. The thinking is all coming together. And the other thing I want to talk about, I hear all the time about the commodities, is like what's coming up. It's really about the gold and silver, which of course is interrelated with the dollar, which is, look, Basel III, June 28th is some very big day. I've been reading and reading. They say this is the moment that the gold, especially the gold, about the gold and silver, it's going to explode up and we're going to be taking off. Look, gold and silver has held up here. It's holding actually very well. I think gold and silver could go higher, but I'm not a believer, that these things are going to take off. And I think actually this whole thing about Basel III on June 28th coming up is really going to be no different than everyone talked about the COMEX warehouse, the May silver squeeze, that they don't have the silver in the warehouse, and this is going to cause the prices to go crazy. And you see what happened? Nothing, because I said this in another video. Everyone knows this. This has been going on for years. They want to make it sound like that this argument is something new, that they're trying to get the word out to everybody to go out and buy physical gold and silver, because once they can spread the word and you can buy up the physical silver, but you're actually talking about gold and silver coins and some small bullion. Outside, unless you get the Reddit group, they already did. You see the Reddit group got behind that silver. They moved to $3. So, but they sold. So anyway, what I want to say is that, regarding the this Basel III, as I mentioned here, I think it's going to be one big nothing, because really what happens is, one of the classic sayings, in the trading is that, buying the rumor, selling the fact. So, I can make the argument as a trader. I've seen this, remember, 35 years, professional trader. You see this at times. You see this in the stocks too. The market goes up because things are going well, and then when the news comes out, the earnings report comes out, what happens? Stock collapses because it ran up into the news. And you can make an argument that the gold and silver is held up here compared to the lumber, compared to copper, compared to the soybeans, because of this June 28th, this whole thing with the Basel III, and changing how they're going to, talk about, they're going to reclassify it as an asset with the banking system and things like this. So I don't think this is going to be this is going to be one big zero. It's not going to move the market. And I can tell you this. What I want to tell you is, if this really was going to be a big thing, and we know the whole world knows about it, that gold would have already been, would be at 3,000 now. Why does it have to wait until June 28th? Everyone knows what the outcome is going to be. It's just a matter what the reaction will be. But we already have the gold and silver. This has been holding up here. We're in an uptrend. So I want to tell you that, it's back to that same old thing, that same argument I see over. I see my argument, the same saying, which is the gold and silver has gone up in advance. Buying the rumor, selling the fact. And June 28th, we're going to see the fact. So anyway, so that's this argument there. That's my argument number 2. Is I want to tell you the high is in. I think the gold and silver could go higher. As I in coffee, the only two, they could go higher. Forget about this Basel III. I'm not so negative, but I'm telling you, the CRB index is really what gave everyone the inflationary scare. Lumber, we know, is tripled. Excuse me. The crude oil is still up there, but I'm looking for crude to come off. I think this is going to be over. And the third thing I want to talk about, the last thing in the argument, let me get my notes here. Here we go, is the market action. And to me, the market action, meaning what are the prices? What are what is it showing? What is the price showing us in all these markets right now? And number one, there's absolutely no panic selling in the dollar. Everyone's saying the dollar's going to crash, it's going to crash. We're so far away. Believe me, I know what a panic looks like. I know what a crash looks like. In fact, all of you saw a crash. You saw a crash in the stock market with the virus news. This is what a crash will look like. There's no crash in the dollar. Okay, so the dollar's gotten a little bit weak, but we're so far away. The euro 120, 121, 122. Remember, we've been at 160 before in the euro, and this makes the dollar weaker. So I don't see any panic selling. Number one, this is what we see. So they keep saying you're going to see it's going to happen. It takes time. It doesn't take time. Believe me, if these central banks, everyone was so negative on the dollar would be much weaker now, not 3 months from now, not 6 months from now. So number one, market action, no panic selling of the dollar. Number two, which is we've seen this the last Friday, the week before, on the inflation news, on the jobs report. Friday, what happened? But we've had two big market reactions. The reports, government reports for the inflation a week and a half ago came in worse than expected. Oh my God, the inflation is coming back. You see, I told you so. That's what they're all saying. What did the market do? It went up. And I've said this before in some of my trading videos, my tips. I can tell you, because I'm a very big news trader and think like the crude oil and in the stock index futures, is that, and this also with the stocks too, is that I should do a whole video about how to profit of this on the earnings report, is that when you see, I think this is probably one of the best signals, especially for a day trader. If you're a day trader, PK, I'm 1 to 4 days, I'm short term. Yeah, before the internet, I held things for 2 weeks, it's 5 months. We all had to. There was no such thing as day trading unless you were on the floor. Is that I can tell you that this market keeps fighting off bad news. When you see something come in worse than expected and that market goes up, that's what matters. It's not about what the news is. It's about the reaction to the news. I've said this. I did a whole video about this. And especially for a day trader, you want to focus on making money. This is the day you have to have it all together. Is when they have these big, the once a month, the jobs report, the inflation report, retail sales, the housing number, and vice versa. And comes in better than expected. The market, this happens in the stocks all the time on the earnings report. Great news, Apple going great, incredible sales, the market drops and goes into a free fall. Again, it's the reaction, and this is where you have a huge opportunity. So what I want to tell you is this is number two, the market action, no panic selling the dollar, number one. Number two, the market's fighting off bad news, which I think is the best buy signal of any trading signal. This tells, because it's about the direction. This is, once you have that confidence in the direction, the market is shaking off all this bad news about the inflation, about the jobs. So where's the panic? Where is it? The market should have collapsed on Friday. It should have collapsed a week and a half ago, but it didn't. Not only didn't, it went up. And let's see. And point number three is, of course, what I really want to tell you is this. All these YouTube videos, these people have huge followings. I've talked about this in the past in some other videos. It's amazing to me. I really believe there really are conspiracy theories. I mean, I hate to tell it to you, break it to you that way, but it's just that they're all predicting gloom and doom and gloom and doom in every aspect. The dollar crashing, the economy, the globe is taking over. And I can tell you that you're going to see this market's going to march much higher. This is what I'm trying to tell you. And let's see. So, one thing I want to mention about these YouTube sites too, they're huge. They got tremendous followings, I mentioned. But what they have, remember, what is the motive? if you dig a little deeper, next time I'm sure many of you follow these people. I subscribe to a lot of them too. I'm very interested in what the other, on both sides, with the other, who I'm trading against, what they think. And they're thinking behind the trade. This is a very big advantage. You always have to, it's like playing poker. You want to look at the other players, how they're betting, how they raise or fold or things like this. Is no different in the trading. And you can say it's no different long-term investing. You want to know what the other side is doing, and I can tell you, they're putting, the majority of everything I see on the YouTube is all panic, fear-based, and they're trying to sell a newsletter. Just take a look at the site, see if they're trying to sell something, or it's a bullion dealer, and they're trying to give every argument, and you see what happened regarding the bullion, the premiums, higher, 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 which is worse and worse and worse for you. I mean, for me, everybody buying coins. If I really is a believer, like some of you are, that this market, that everything's going to collapse in the next year or two, and this is your only salvation, this is not the way to do it. How can you win paying a $10, $12 premium over spot and silver? It's both directions. You're already minus $20 going in. This is outside of silver going to 150 or 200. You're not going to make any money, and then so the whole thing is wrong. So I want to tell you that next time you look at some of these sites, see if they're selling something. $200, $300 newsletter. Don't forget they sell 1,000 news. You get 1,000 people, $200-$300 a pop. You're talking about $200,000-$300,000 a year for doing nothing, writing one newsletter a month. I mean, this is a great business. And I think they're all, bottom line, they're all trying to sell something. So let's see what else. So I want to just sort of wrap this up. You see I'm rambling on 16 minutes. I probably jolted around from subject to subject. Here we go. The conclusion is, let's see what time. Here we go. The time is, it's time for PK to wrap this up, that I can tell you. Number one, my conclusions are the following. Number one, the COMEX, the CME, Chicago Mercantile Exchange, the New York Stock Exchange, and the banks, they're not going to fail. This is something out of a Twilight Zone episode. It's not going to happen. Number two, the stock market is going much higher. This I can tell you. I'm really putting my foot down. I'm not in. I'm waiting for a pullback. I'm not, even for myself, I'm not in. I'd like to be in the gold and silver. Many of you have heard me about this. I like this for trade. Remember, my time frame is 1 to 4 days, not for the long-term future. But the long term, regarding the stock market, I think we're really in for a real boom economy. I mean, I don't anybody. In fact, it's only one person. If you want to hear somebody really who's my age, wears glasses. Actually, she's actually 4 years older than me. She's 65, 66. Just type in Kathy Wood and go to their ARK Investments, and she'll give you a real detail. Here's somebody who's trading $30 billion, who made 150% last year, and she's outperformed everybody in the last 5 years. And I happen to agree. Of course, she's giving the deflationary argument, but talk about details. She can break it down for you 10 times better than PK. All I have to know is the direction and see and confirm with my thinking with what I see. And this is what I see. So the bottom line is, for the next 5 years, I'm telling you to buy the dip in the Bitcoin, in the stock market. We're going higher over the time. There's not going to be a crash. Hate to break it to you. There's not going to be this financial meltdown. I don't know why I'm like the only one saying it, but this is the reality. But that's how it goes. This is what I'm going to tell you. So anyway, this is PK. I wish everybody, let's see if we make some money this week. But watch this. Watch these news. When you have this very bad news in the U.S. economy, any type of bad news, see how that market shakes it off. This is probably the most telling thing to me as a trader. It's PK with another episode of Out of the Box. I wish everybody a great day, and let's make some money this week. Ciao, everybody.